The word cosmos is a Greek word for the order of the universe. It is, in a way, the opposite of chaos. This monologue is deep. Teenage girls still go crazy over this shit. Like, can you believe that? Holy crap. It's crazy. And pretty concerning for our human race in the future. Elon Musk, please help us. Anyways, welcome to my review of the Lumix 42.5mm f1.7 lens. So there are two other 85mm equivalent lenses I've used in the past. One of them was the Nikon 85mm 1.8. I had that mounted on a Nikon D750, and I was pretty much blown away by how much subject separation you can have with this lens. And this was my very first full frame setup. It was kinda hard for me to remember exactly how this lens felt in my hands, but I do recall it to be one of my favorite lenses. It was a simple and clean lens, sharp and pleasing bokeh, and best of all, it is affordable. Compare that same price to a Nikon 85mm 1.8 Z mount lens for their full frame mirrorless. Yeah, the design is better and I'm pretty sure it's a tad bit sharper, but that price is pretty high for a 1.8 lens. Even Sony's 85 1.8 E mount lens is much cheaper. The other lens was the Canon 50mm 1.8 STM lens. I had that mounted on a Canon 80D and now my SL2, so that equates to around 80mm because of that Canon APS-C crop sensor. This was a pretty good lens. It's not the sharpest and it doesn't have the nicest looking bokeh, but it's still a very good lens. My only issue with this lens is the chromatic aberration. The amount of it could get a little too high if you leave it untreated in post. But if you mount this on a full frame, because this is a full frame lens after all, I'm sure the chromatic aberrations will be much more compressed, resulting in a much more pleasing image. But all of these issues are easily forgivable because of how cheap this lens is. Now that I prefer to use the micro four thirds system these days, I had to buy a lens with that same 85mm equivalent. So I got the Lumix 42.5mm 1.7 lens to mount on my Lumix G85. And so far this is the most enjoyable telephoto prime lens I have ever used. And the price of this lens ain't that bad too. This is the third lens review out of the 6 micro four thirds lenses I currently own. I have already covered the budget 25mm 1.8 by Mikey and the Lumix 12-60 3.5 to 5.6 lens, and now this 42.5mm. So let's go over the specs. This is a tiny lens. It has a 37mm filter thread, which is the smallest I've ever seen, and surprisingly Panasonic impressively added optical stabilization. The build quality isn't the best, but it's still very good using high quality plastics and metals. It lacks any weather sealing though, but it's fine for how much this lens costs. The focus ring is smooth, but it is focused by wire, and as of right now there is still no linear manual focus support. Good thing this lens comes with a lens hood. To attach it, you have to remove the plastic ring on the front, and there you can attach the hood. And yeah, those are the specs. So I used this exact setup to photograph an event a few weeks ago. It was my cousin's debut, which is one of those Filipino 18th birthday parties, kind of like a Mexican quinceañera. I took this opportunity to test out how my Lumix G85 behaves to shoot event photography, and with my 42.5mm lens, this is a good combo. I didn't check, but it did feel like the G85 did a good job with the autofocus. although the shooting environment wasn't really extreme. So I don't have a say for shooting something like sports, but for the environment I shot in, it works pretty well. And I had the camera set to AF continuous and face detection. Now, because there was already a professional photographer and that I felt the urge to do video instead, I filmed the rest of the event with this one lens. I didn't bring my Rode Video Micro to get the best sound, so I asked my uncle if it was okay to send me the footage that was taken by his camcorder because it had an external microphone, and problem solved. I also managed to make use of the home-style camcorder footage into the edit. In the past, I refrained from shooting video with this lens for one big reason: the focus breathing. It's pretty severe and this is the biggest downside. But when I was at the debut, I was like, why not try it? And I'm glad I did because I captured some very nice footage. I am tired. Okay.
So as parents, we all know that eventually our child will turn into an adult, be independent. That makes us feel proud, accomplished, that we have done our job and that our child are ready to spread their wings, fly away from our nest. If I'll be honest, I have some mixed feelings about it. Scared, worried. So Allison, I know you're getting older, growing, and changing. Sometimes it felt that it's going too fast. Sometimes I feel like I would like to turn back the clock, put it back the way it worked. But then I eventually realized that's just naive. It's not how life works. It's about moving, always moving, whether you want it or not. So you know what, Alison? Keep on growing, make mistakes, but learn from them. And when life hurts you, because it will, remember that hurt. That hurt is good. It means you're over that hump. Live life your best. Live life to the fullest. And Alison, never stop this train. I love you. Happy birthday.
Here we go. I do not know what to say. I do not know where to start. Okay, so just looking at you right now make me realize how lucky I am to have you as your mom. Anak, it's a privilege from God, and I thank Him for the opportunity that I can see you every day, see you grow up. I remember when you were still a baby, I was breastfeeding you until you were 18 months old. But I have to cut you off because you start farting me. Both sides. So I said that's enough. I also remember when you were young, we loved to work in the kitchen. We stay a lot of time in the kitchen because she loves to cook, she loves to bake. And I'm always there because I am the one who's washing all the dishes, everything that she uses. But now you're 18 enough. You grew up strong, smart, and beautiful young lady, anak. You have your good life ahead of you. Just grab it, hold it, and don't let it go. And always remember, anak, no matter what, me and daddy are here to support you. And no matter what, I will always love you. Happy birthday.